Hello everyone, I am Professor Mrs. Akhade Kedi, Head and Associate Professor, Department of English from Dada Patil Mahavidyalaya Karjat. Today, the topic of my presentation is Plato's objection to poetry and Aristotle's defense, theory of mimesis. Plato's valuable contribution to the study of art and literature is Plato's theory of mimesis, that is imitation, is the art deals with illusion or they are imitation of an art, imitation twice removed from the reality, and for that he gives the example of carpenter's table or chair, means the idea which come into the mind of carpenter, it is the first imitation, first original picture, and when he prepared or when he make the chair or table, it is imitation, and when the drawing teacher or the portrait is become of that product, that is chair or table, that is the thrice removed from the reality. So he says whatever is seen in the world, it is twice removed from the reality. He was the first who inquired into the nature of imaginative literature and put forward theories which are both illuminating and provocative. He introduced these things in his book Republic. Actually, he has not given any literary criticism. One cannot call him as the first critic. He has provided his opinion or valued opinions in his book, and very short criticism is on poets. So he was poet, dialogues full of poetic beauty, dramatic quality. Actually, whatever he wrote, it is in the poetry. Plato the philosopher. Now before going to his ideas, we have to see the biographical reference of Plato. He is the philosopher. As a moralist, Plato disapproves of poetry because it is immortal. As a philosopher, he disapproves of it because it is based on falsehood. Means he says that poet uses the words which are not from reality or real life. Whatever he gives, it is fictitious one. Philosophy is better than poetry because philosopher deals with idea, truth, whereas poet deals with what appears to him, that is illusion. So it is not truth, it is false one. He believed that truth of philosophy was more important than the pleasure of poetry. Plato's chief interest was philosophical investigations, which formed the subject of his great work in the form of dialogues. He was not a professed critic of literature, and his critical observations are not found in any single book. They lie scattered in 7 of his dialogues, more particularly the Aeon, the Symposium, the Republic, and the Laws. According to him, according to Plato, art is nothing but twice removed from reality. Means it is illusion, elusive, it is not real, it is not truth. According to him, all arts are imitative or mimetic in nature. He wrote in the Republic that ideas are the ultimate reality. Things are conceived as ideas before they take practical shapes. So, idea is original and the thing is copy of that idea. Carpenter's chair, as I have already told you, carpenter's chair is the result of the idea or chair in his mind. Thus, the chair is once removed from the reality, but painter's chair is imitation of carpenter's chair. So it is twice removed from the reality. Thus, artist, poet takes man away from reality rather than towards it. Thus, artist deals in illusion. So Platonic idealism is The idea of a chair, real chair, a representation of a chair. Ideals, concept, reality, nature, phenomena, and representation is artwork. Plato's three main objections are Plato's three main objections to poetry are that poetry is not ethical, philosophical, and pragmatic. In other words, he objected to poetry from the point of view of education, from philosophical point of view, and from moral point of view. And that is why he said that poets should be banned. They should not entered in the ideal state. Why? Why it is so? It is not ethical because it promotes undesirable passions. Our passions are our excitements, passions, that is increased. So most of the time they are undesirable according to Plato. It is not philosophical because it does not provide true knowledge. Why? Because it is twice removed from the reality. So it is not philosophical because it does not provide true knowledge, and it is not pragmatic because it is inferior to practical art and therefore has no educational value. Means according to him, it is undesirable passion, provide true knowledge and educational value. So according to him, philosophy is more important than the poetry. His objections are, there are three objections, see that. I quote, "If we mean our future guardians to regard the habit of quarreling among themselves as of all things the basest, no word should be said to them of the wars in the heaven, or of the plots and fighting of the gods against one another, for they are not true. If they would only believe as we would tell them that quarreling is unholy, and that never up to this time has there been any quarreling between citizens, these tales of epics must not be admitted into our state, whether they are supposed to have allegorical meaning or not." I unquote. Thus, he objected on the ground that poetry does not cultivate good habits among children. His objections are: the imitator or maker of the image knows nothing of true existence, he knows appearance only. The imitative art is an inferior who marries an inferior and has inferior offspring. Plato felt that poetry, like all forms of art, appeals to the inferior part of the soul, the irrational, emotional, cowardly part. The reader of poetry is seduced into feelings undesirable emotions. To Plato, an appreciation of poetry is incompatible with an appreciation of reason, justice, and the search for truth. In the Ion, he suggests that poetry causes needless lamentation and ecstasies at the imaginary events of sorrow and happiness. It numbs the faculty of reason for the time being, paralyzes the balanced thoughts and encourages the weaker part of soul constituted of the baser impulses. Hence, poetry has no healthy function and it cannot be called good. To him, drama is the most dangerous form of literature because the author is imitating things that she does not understand. Plato seemingly feels that no words are strong enough to condemn drama. Plato felt that all the world's evil derived from one source, a faulty understanding of reality. Now let us turn towards the Aristotle. What are the Aristotle's ideas or Aristotle's opinions? The nature of poetry. Aristotle is Plato's disciple, but he disagrees few of the ideas which is, or few of the opinions which Plato has given, expressed. So according to Aristotle, he wanted to speak on, or he wanted to discuss on the nature of poetry. Poetic inspiration, theory of inspiration, means according to Plato, poetry is nothing but false, true, untruth, and it is not reliable, or it is twice removed from the reality. But see what Aristotle says. Aristotle agrees with Plato in calling the poet an imitator, no doubt. He says, as my teacher or my guru or my teacher says, I am agree with him that poets are imitator and creative art is imitation. He imitates one of the three objects, things as they are or were, things as they are said or thought to be, or things as they ought to be. In other words, he imitates what is past or present, what is commonly believed, and what is ideal. According to Aristotle, he believes that there is natural pleasure in imitation, which is inborn instinct in men. It is this pleasure in imitation that enables the child to learn his earliest lessons in speech and conduct from those around him, because there is a pleasure in doing so. In a grown-up child, a poet, there is another instinct helping him to make him a poet, the instinct for harmony and rhythm. He does not agree with his teacher, that is, Aristotle does not agree with Plato in poet's imitation is twice removed from reality and hence it is unreal, illusion of truth. So, to prove his point, he compares poetry with history. The poet and the historian differ not by their medium, but the true difference is that the historian relates what has happened. What happened? And the poet, what may or ought to have happened. That is ideal. Poetry, therefore, is more philosophical and a higher thing than the history, which expresses the particular, while poetry tends to express the universal. Therefore, the picture of poetry pleases all and at all times. Aristotle does not agree with Plato in function of poetry to make people weaker and emotional, too sentimental. For him, catharsis is ennobling an humble human being, so far as moral nature of poetry is concerned. Aristotle believed that the end of poetry is to please. However, teaching may be given. Such pleasing is superior to the other pleasure because it teaches civic morality. Therefore, all good literature gives pleasure that is not diverse from moral lesson. Plato's objection refuted. Means whatever the Plato has three objection which we have already seen. So Aristotle refuted those objections. Plato says that art, being the imitation of the actual, is removed from truth. It only gives the likeness of the thing in concrete, and the likeness is always less than real. But Plato fails to understand that art also gives something more which is absent in the actual. The artist does not simply reflect the real in the manner of my mirror. Art is not slavish imitation of reality. Literature is not the photographic reproduction of life in all its totality. So Plato's objection refuted in this way. R.A. Scott's James rightly observes, I quote, but though he, that is poet, creates something less than that reality, he also creates something more. He puts an idea into it. He puts his perception into it. He gives us his intuition of certain distinctive and essential qualities, I unquote. So Plato again says that art is bad because it does not inspire virtue, does not teach morality. But Aristotle says it is teaching the function of the art. Is it the aim of the artist? The function of art is to provide aesthetic delight, communicate experience, express emotions, and represent life. It should never be confused with the function of ethics, which is simply to teach morality. If an artist succeeds in pleasing us in aesthetic sense, he is a good artist. If he fails in doing so, he is a bad artist. R. A. Scott James observes, I quote, morality teaches. Art does not attempt to teach, it merely asserts it is thus or thus that life is perceived to be. That is my bit of reality, says the artist. Take it or leave it. Draw any lessons you like from it. That is my account of things that they are. If it has any value to you as evidence or teaching, use it. But that is not my business. I have given you my rendering, my account, my vision, my dream, my illusion. Call it what you will. If there is any lesson in it, it is yours to draw, not mine to preach, I unquote. Similarly, Plato's charge that needless lamentations and ecstasies at the imaginary events of sorrow and happiness encourages weaker part of soul and numbs faculty of reason. This charge is defended by Aristotle in his theory of catharsis. David Deutsch summarizes Aristotle's views in reply to Plato's charges in brief. I quote, tragedy, art, gives new knowledge, yields aesthetic satisfaction, and produces a better state of minds, I unquote. Plato judges poetry now from the educational standpoint, now from the philosophical one, and then from the ethical one. But he does not care to consider it from its own unique standpoint. He does not define its aims. He forgets that everything could be judged in terms of its own aims and objectives, its own criteria of merit and demerit. We cannot fairly mention that music is bad because it does not paint, or that painting is bad because it does not sing. Similarly, we cannot say that poetry is bad because it does not teach philosophy of ethics. If poetry, philosophy, and ethics had identical function, how could they be different subjects? To denounce poetry because it is not philosophy or ideal is clearly absurd. Thank you.